What is up, guys? Welcome back. We back with our favorite guys, robe trotting. Here we have Denmark took down McDonald's. Somebody sent me this. I always think it's interesting because, it's a McDonald's everywhere, but come on now. We know there are some better places than McDonald's, but it'd be hard to believe that some places are not doing good with McDonald's simply because it's McDonald's. The kids love it. Sometimes we love it, but we finna check this out, see what it's about. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send down those recommendations.
In the 1980s, McDonald's came to Denmark, but the unions wanted the workers to boycott them.
Oh, dang.
McDonald's came to Denmark in the 80s, but the unions said to boycott all men and ladies. They don't want to serve no fries without a contract. Not any
Hold up, they got the Welcome to the Jungle theme, but that's crazy. A boycott for McDonald's in the 80s. I ain't gonna lie, them fries be different. Them fries do be different though.
They don't want to serve no fries without a contract. Not any chicken nuggets or even one Big Mac in Denmark.
Big Macs are overrated.
Came to Denmark. Now they're here to stay.
Big Macs are overrated.
Okay, so I actually really like that song, but all I know about this topic of Denmark and McDonald's is that American pundits and politicians are always talking about how McDonald's employees in Denmark are paid $22 an hour.
I heard about that in one.
6 weeks of vacation and they're paid maternity.
That's wild to me because McDonald's down here, I don't even think managers making $22. That says a lot. If they do, you got to have a lot of experience for McDonald's and managing that too much.
Even safer and better working conditions. Now, I know most of that is actually due to Denmark's social welfare system and the labor laws that are already on the book. So why did McDonald's have to face a boycott from Denmark and all of the Danes in order to make this happen?
That's good.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't as easy as it seems, and not all of these things are actually rooted in Danish labor law. So McDonald's had a lot of room to exploit the rules and different things here in Denmark when they first arrived.
Okay, that's interesting. And when did they actually come to Denmark?
So the story begins, let's go way on back to 1981. So in the U.S., Ronald Reagan was just inaugurated.
Not Ronald Reagan.
It was Raiders of the Lost Ark that everyone was watching. And that's when McDonald's decided, as they were rapidly expanding around the world, it was time for them to come to Denmark. They were already in 20 countries at this time.
Oh, wow.
And this little Nordic country was next on the list. Until this point in this global expansion, they had McDonald's actually avoided unions in every country except Sweden. So they figured they could do the same once they got here.
Ah, okay. So I think I see where this is heading. It's probably going to be a massive showdown over workers' rights.
I'd say that's a polite way.
Okay, I can just imagine.
But there's a little more before we get into this and get into the whole story that we have here. So when McDonald's first arrived in Denmark, they found a labor market that was governed, just as it is right now, by sectoral labor agreements or union contracts. So these contracts determine the wages and conditions and other factors that go in for workers that are in this sector.
Okay,
So I wonder if that works with the other restaurants around. I know McDonald's, the more popular, more bigger, but I'm sure Denmark has some other, how can I put it, American style restaurants that are down there, that are known. Is it just at McDonald's? I know McDonald's making the money and stuff, but say for instance, there's a Taco Bell in Denmark. God forbid it is, because, Taco Bell shouldn't be everywhere. But say for instance, there is. Will it be treated the same as a McDonald's?
every sector has basically their own contract. So there's a teachers union, police union, taxi drivers union. Every different sector of the economy has their own contract. Mm-hmm. So I assume McDonald's workers then expected that when they were hired, they would be covered under the Danish Restaurant Workers Union.
Close enough. Actually, it's the Hotel and Restaurant Union agreement that ideally McDonald's should have adhered to when they came into Denmark. And that honestly would be the norm. In fact, when other fast food companies like Burger King came into Denmark, that's what they did. And they came into Denmark a few years before McDonald's tried breaking in.
Okay, well, I caught that you said
I didn't know that.
Should have done this. So I assume this is where things start to unravel / get interesting.
You'd be right in that assumption. So yes, they should have followed that agreement per kind of the norms of the times and even now. But again, union agreements like this aren't binding on employers the same way that, say, a contract is when it's signed between a specific union and a specific business. So that means that you can't just sue a company because they're not following these different agreements. It's voluntary. So McDonald's came in and decided that they're not going to follow the union agreement and decided to set up their own pay levels and work rules based on what they thought was fair.
Okay, so what I know of Denmark
Sound
is
like
that
a
seems
McDonald's.
like a huge mistake. I definitely would not want to be on the wrong side and cross the Danish labor movement.
So would have McDonald's try to pay them lesser money? I feel like the type of restaurant McDonald's is, they're able to pay a little bit more than other restaurants. Simply because it's more popular. They're gonna have a lot more customers, so I feel like they can afford it. Can afford to pay more.
Assuming must not have taken very long for some kind of retaliation from the hotel and restaurant union in Denmark.
Yeah, not only did it not take that long, it was only a few months and things were getting kicked up. In fact, in 1982, there was a full court press to get McDonald's to follow the Hotel and Restaurant Workers Agreement. Things actually moved pretty slowly at first. I mean, McDonald's came in and they claimed that they had a very principled and unique position against unions. This is how they operated everywhere in the world. And so they said that negotiations weren't fair for them. They were not going to be able to do this. So in retaliation, they were beat up and dragged around the Danish press. But again, like many American organizations, they refused to yield. In fact, it took some years. And in 1988, the unions finally had enough.
All right, this is actually what I was excited for, the drama.
Oh yes, there's drama here. And what
Not the Mickey D's drama.
Sympathy strikes.
Okay.
So what this meant was that there's adjacent industries that decided to band together and cripple McDonald's business and operations.
Dang.
Okay.
In fact, 16 different Danish unions joined these sympathy strikes. So what did this look like? So for example, Danish printers decided they would refuse to supply printed materials to all McDonald's
Dang.
Okay, so therefore no bags, no menus, no cups, no napkins, all of the paper
Oh
products
my
that are printed at
gosh.
McDonald's.
gone. And similarly,
They pretty much said, y'all don't cooperate, y'all finna shut down.
Danish
Y'all ain't
dock
getting
workers
nothing.
refused to unload shipping containers that held McDonald's equipment. Union construction workers refused to do any work
Dang.
in or in new McDonald's locations, improvements they were doing, and in fact, they were in the process of building a new restaurant, and that was stopped because the construction workers union decided that they didn't want to continue.
Wow. Very.
Yes, and even more unions get in on the action. I mean, the typographers union refused to place McDonald's advertisements in publications and print ads.
Dang.
I mean, overnight, the company's entire print media operations just up and disappeared. Danish truckers stopped moving goods around Denmark for them, just like the dock workers did. So suddenly, food and beverages and
Yeah,
materials.
they didn't have no choice but to cooperate there. You ain't getting nothing. You ain't got a business now.
Couldn't show up.
You
at
don't got
different
what you need
stores.
for your business.
I think you get it by now. All these unions that could hurt McDonald's in some way by refusing to work for them did just that to try to force them to take action and go into the agreement as they're supposed to.
Dang.
Wow,
Oh.
that must have been really bad for McDonald's. No advertising, supply chain crippled. Even building and opening a new restaurant must have been almost impossible at that point.
Now
I mean,
look
it
like
was
they
just about
booming.
impossible for McDonald's to operate. Think about it. So you'd have McDonald's like this, and in front of there would be people picketing with signs, handing out leaflets, trying to convince people to go eat elsewhere. The unions
dang.
organized a big PR campaign in the media, in newspapers, doing everything they could to convince people not to eat at McDonald's unless McDonald's chose to join in with the
Wow.
same standards as every other restaurant in the country.
Dang, that's crazy.
Wow. And
And it's crazy because obviously they still up and running, so they obviously cooperated, but I bet it's about 3 or 4 of them now.
country like Denmark, where most people are in a union and value fairness and trust, that must have been a lot of trouble for McDonald's.
Pretty much. And McDonald's found themselves at a crossroads. I mean, at this point, the sympathy strikes and the consumer boycotts had crippled their supply chain. It had stopped any construction and had tarnished the brand.
Wow.
By 1989, McDonald's finally came to their senses. They realized they had to be a part of the Hotel and Restaurant Union Agreement, and that's when they decided to actually play fair here in Denmark.
Okay, so I'm piecing this together, and it seems like when U.S. politicians point to Danish workers at McDonald's making more than their American counterparts, it's a little bit misleading. They're really leaving out the main fact that it wasn't always the case, and it only is today because of this boycott.
Yeah, and on top of that,
It look like we need a boycott and stand for something here in the States, because I don't think people stand for that, because you'll see people marching one day, then the next day they right back at work. You need the money. We need that money, man. I ain't gonna lie. Money talks. You know, you need to pay some bills still.
Leave out some other factors that I think are relevant here. The McDonald's model in Denmark is one that certainly does pay a higher wage than the US, but the flip side of that is that now there's fewer workers on each shift, as a lot of the manual labor has been replaced by machines that are able to take orders or other automation that prepares food or moves them around the restaurant.
Hey, they doing this. They did this at Walmart. Like, all Walmarts is just self-checkout now. I wish I could find a video to show y'all, but all the Walmart, at least I know our Walmart, there's nobody checking out your groceries for you no more. It's all self-checkout, which is not bad when you know how to do it. But some people don't know how to do it. And when you have a lot of groceries, it's probably the worst. But McDonald's, hey, there's some McDonald's, this all they have. They don't even open the front counter no more. It's crazy.
So they can lower their overall labor costs without cutting the wages of the McDonald's employees. I mean, this is all completely legal as they run their business.
We ain't got that.
True, and I know that Americans often bring up this McDonald's in Denmark example when they discuss raising the minimum wage in America. But McDonald's doesn't pay their Danish workforce more because of a higher minimum wage, and that's kind of what the left in America wants you to think. And the right wants you to think that it's because the Danish government stepped in and told the businesses how much to pay you, but that's also not the case. In fact, there isn't even a minimum wage in Denmark, which I think is lost on a lot of Americans and even some Danes. Most of Denmark doesn't even want one. Danish McDonald's restaurants pay high wages because of this. Back in the 1980s, Danish labor unions turned their entire business off.
Dang, that's crazy.
And they don't want to mess around and see if Danes would do the same thing again if they suddenly decided to not comply with those Danish labor contracts.
And that's what I talk about, helping the people.
In my opinion, there's probably two lessons that you can have with this. I mean, number one, you can definitely make money in Denmark. It's a very capitalist country, and you do this while adhering to worker-friendly labor laws and union contracts. These are designed to dictate a livable wage and reasonable conditions for their workers. That's how it works here in Denmark. And McDonald's has actually been doing this since the late 1980s, and I'm sure they'll continue to do this as they learn what happens when things go wrong, because number two, don't mess with the Danes.
For
They're
sure.
definitely not to be messed with. And if you want to see more reasons why you shouldn't mess with the Danes,
I gotta check
you can watch
that
this
out.
video right here. It talks about 5 other examples in history when people learned the hard way, just like McDonald's, not to mess with the Danes.
I gotta check that one out.
Enjoy this video. Thanks for watching, guys.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, no, that's crazy. McDonald's, and you would have thought McDonald's was the powerhouse, but they cut off all the chain of supply. That's crazy. That's what I'm talking about, man. Sometimes you just gotta stand up. You gotta stand for something, or you fall for anything. Shoot, McDonald's could have came in thinking they was running Denmark. They said no. No ma'am, no sir, no ma'am. But this was, they paid. Hey, I like that Denmark. I like that. They like, hey, you not finna come in here thinking you can do what you want to do. Especially this not, original Danish type restaurant. McDonald's, I love McDonald's. Kids love McDonald's. I like that. I feel like most people gotta do that. And like he mentioned with the U.S. work. We have minimum wage. Said they don't. That makes a lot of sense. $22 would be nice, but it's crazy because there's people with degrees that night. I have a degree where I was working. I wasn't even making that. I wasn't even making $22 an hour with a degree, 2 degrees actually. So it's crazy down here. It's crazy. But appreciate you guys for sending me this one. Y'all hit that subscribe button. Hey, send me more video suggestions, and y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.